So I want to start the video off with this. I actually just finished recording it, and I forgot to mention, if you're a Syracuse fan and you enjoy this, or if you're a Georgia Tech fan who's going to this game, I will be getting on a plane Friday to go to Syracuse. So I'll be wearing a jersey with WreckTalk on it. First time in New York, so come say hi if you enjoyed the video, or if you want to trash talk, that's fine too. See you guys there. What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. Today, we're going to be breaking down, talking about the Syracuse Georgia Tech game, the Oranges versus the Jackets. Now, a lot of times, like for Florida State, I went into a super in-depth breakdown. I don't really want to do that here. I just kind of want to give some high-level points about both of these teams. It is a 2.5-point line, so Georgia Tech is favored by 2.5 points. And I think a lot of that, it has to do with two things. One, Florida State being absolutely awful. And this isn't a trash Florida State video. I do think if Florida State would have beat the brakes off Boston College last week, this line would be much closer to 7. This is probably the most conflicted game I've ever felt going in for Georgia Tech. Like, a lot of times I kind of have a feeling of like, we don't match up, or we should beat them handedly. A lot less of that up until recent history. But these teams are really opposites for what their tendencies are. So Georgia Tech, it's no secret now, is a team that wants to bang the football. They're going to want to run it right down your throat. They're going to want to control the clock and pick their spots passing the ball. And I mean downfield. We haven't necessarily thrown downfield a ton this year. And, you know, Tech fans that watch this video are just fans that have watched Georgia Tech. I'm going to be careful how I say it. It does feel like we're a little timid to throw the ball downfield right now. Haynes King did have one pick that was kind of bad. Again, I should go back and watch it so I know. I don't know if it was a comeback or an out route. I think it was with Singleton Jr. where the DB was just in front of him. Basically had a shoulder in front of the other guy's shoulder. The ball shouldn't have been thrown. I don't think this is a game that Tech can afford turnovers in. When Tech has thrown the ball, they love to screen. They love to throw screens to the perimeter, or they like to run their back kind of on a bubble route and throw it. They throw it a lot behind the line of scrimmage is what I'm saying. I bet half or more of all the passes Georgia Tech has thrown up until this game in the 2 games they've played this year have been at or behind the line of scrimmage. And a lot of what Georgia Tech likes to do has to do with imbalance, quarterback draws with Haynes King, or basically getting the ball to your wide receiver in the short passing game when he's full speed. So placement's really important. And shout out to Haynes King. He's been great at it up to this point. I'm sure there will be teams for Georgia Tech. Well, I'm not sure. There will be teams for Georgia Tech that will just flat out be able to stack the box and take a lot of your run game away from you. And there's going to be games this year where Georgia Tech's going to have to throw the ball downfield and be more creative in their passing game. Now, Syracuse is the opposite. Syracuse has a really good quarterback in Kyle McCord. I actually brought his stats up from Ohio State last year. Threw for 3,170 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So, I mean, this is a guy that knows what he's doing. You know, I just reacted to the press conference for Brent Key for members. I also reacted to Jeff Collins' Citadel interview. Someone had asked me to. So if you're interested in that, become a member today. There's a join button right below the video, and there's also a link in the description of the video. Also, let's just get all our pitches out of the way. Sherry's Berries right now. Yeah, if you want to become a part of Discord, there's a link for that. If you want merchandise, we have WreckTalk merch. I need to get some new stuff out there. There's a link for that in the description of the video as well. Anyways, enough of my narcissism. Kyle McCord's a guy that can hurt you through the air. Threw for 4 touchdowns, 1 pick against Ohio last week. Looked really good. We're going to see it as I pull up. You know, I just cut up some of the game film that's available on YouTube. Ohio ran the most bland, almost 80% of the time zone defense where they were back 10 yards off. And not that I'm taking anything away from Kyle McCord, because he can certainly hurt you, but he didn't have to do a lot. Like any quarterback that's halfway competent at the Division I, especially Power 5 Division I level of football, if just presented with soft zone coverage, should be able to carve it up if they have time to throw. And he did. I think he might have taken one sack the entire game. I watched about 75% of the game. He did not get much pressure on him. So again, to me, any quarterback that has soft zone coverage with a ton of time to throw should have a field day. So this is going to be a major test for both teams. Now, Syracuse likes to pass first and run kind of second. Obviously, Georgia Tech likes to run first, pass second. Defensively, Georgia Tech has looked infinitely better than last year. They have given up some big plays, but Georgia Tech's defense has played as well as I think any Tech fan can expect them to possibly play. I don't know if he still is, but I think Kyle Eifert was leading the country in tackles, Georgia Tech's linebacker. Now, Syracuse defense, and this isn't me trashing Syracuse, looks similar to Georgia Tech's defense last year. They're not near as bad. I'm not saying that. But what, they give up 255 yards on the ground, I think. Yeah, 255 yards against, not the best group of 5 school. We're going to see when we look at some of these plays, missed tackles everywhere, missed assignments at times. I think Ohio's leading rusher had like 210 rushing yards against them and 2 touchdowns. So if you're a Georgia Tech fan, I mean, you got to be thinking that you're going to be able to out-physical them up front and just run the ball down their throats with Jamal Haynes. Now, as a Tech fan, I would really like to see more of Anthony Carey, true freshman, a 4-star commit we pulled in last year at running back. But Georgia Tech should have near 300 yards rushing in this game. Now, Syracuse does have 2 all-ACC players, both on one on offense and one on defense. The one on offense isn't Kyle McCord, by the way. It's their tight end. They have a really good tight end that's all ACC, and I think that he can pose some matchup issues, maybe with linebacker or our nickel. So that's going to be a key matchup to watch. If I'm Fran Brown or Syracuse OC, I'm going to be trying to get the ball to the tight end, probably across the middle of the field. They'll probably line them up at slot, if I had to guess. Syracuse other all-ACC players, their linebacker, I don't have his name in front of me. He's a captain, senior, really good ball player. They lose him for what looks like the next 6 weeks with some sort of leg injury. So you have a team in Syracuse that has a very suspect run defense, it appears, right, after one game, and you lose your best run-stopping option. This is all stacking up for, seems like Georgia Tech should just be able to just run the ball all over them. Keys to this game, it's going to be the first true test, I think, for Georgia Tech's defense. Now, I hate that Florida State has fallen off. That win is definitely, it's just flat out not as impressive as it was at the time. I think this is going to come down to Georgia Tech's secondary. Georgia Tech likes to be aggressive. Georgia Tech likes to run a lot of man coverage. And Syracuse has a quarterback that, if he has separation with his receivers, and Syracuse does have talented receivers, we'll have a long day if, 1, we can't get a pass rush going, and or 2, we're struggling at DB. Now, I do think we're solid there. But this game is going to tell me a lot of what I need to know about Georgia Tech's defense facing, a well above average quarterback. The key for Syracuse is going to be, what does their passing attack look like against a more talented and competent defense, a better play caller in Tyler Santucci at DC? Because make no mistake, like, Ohio is running this very giving them a ton of room zone defense because they just didn't have the players to match up with them. I do think Tech does. So it's going to be an interesting chess match, and it's going to be an interesting matchup between these wide receivers and DBs. I think the key for the game for Syracuse is throwing the ball. They do have a talented running back, but the whole key for Syracuse is they've got to be able to stop Georgia Tech's run. Now, if I had to guess, I think Georgia Tech wins this game by at least 7 points, just for that reason. And I think they're going to be able to control the clock. I think Tech's going to be able to control the clock, impose their will at the line of scrimmage, and just run the ball a lot. I was talking in a members only stream about a lot of times in these matchups, I like to think of if, by some divine intervention or magic, someone could tell me one stat for the game that isn't the score, but one stat for the game that would tell me who wins it without knowing the score, what would it be? I think even more so than Georgia Tech's rushing yards is Syracuse passing yards. If this quarterback, Kyle McCord, is just able to throw the ball all over us all game, I actually think this game could get out of hand for Georgia Tech. So it's really going to hinge on Georgia Tech's defense. I think probably no matter what, Georgia Tech's going to be able to run the ball on Syracuse. So a final score, I think the over-under is around 60. Again, I don't bet. You shouldn't either. There's a reason none of these betting services are broke or going out of business. But I would probably take the under if you force me to. I don't think this game will be 60 points. If it is over 60 points, I think this is Syracuse blowing us out, honestly. I just don't see that many points being scored. So I think it's a relatively low-scoring game. I think Georgia Tech wins this game somewhere around 28-21. So if I had to give a final score prediction, I'd probably say Georgia Tech wins this game 28-21. But I do think it's going to be very back and forth, especially in the first half. This is going to be a major test for both schools. So let me pull up some of these plays that I have keyed here. And some of them are named funny things, so just bear with me. I'm not really, we're not going to be like, all right, here's what route everyone's running on every play. These point ones, I think, are plays for Syracuse's offense. So here's what I'm talking about. They have this quick, I believe this is just a quick curl. So this wide receiver actually does a really good job running this route. The whole point of a curl route is what? You want to make it look like you're running a go and put the brakes on and have that ball out. Like right when that wide receiver's hips start to drop, to turn, ball should be out. And Kyle McCord is great at it. Perfect. His hips are dropping. Ball might even just be just the taddest bit late if you're just being ultra nitpicky. But this is a 2nd and 10 play that I think they come close to picking up. I mean, look at how much room he's given this guy. Ohio's just not wanting to get beat deep. Again, I want you to appreciate how good this route is. These are the nuances of college football that don't get noticed, that don't get talked about on some Paul Feinbaum show or Josh Pate. You're not going to hear Josh Pate talk about this, right? Up until this point, like if I told you, guess what the route is up to this? I'm going to let it play at full speed. It looks like a go route, doesn't it? Boom, and then he puts the brakes on. I mean, that is a fantastic route. So it's going to be a big test for Georgia Tech's corners, really. Now, I doubt Georgia Tech's going to go out and give them, 11 yards of cushion there to pull that off on them. But I guess we'll look at Syracuse offensive plays first, and then we'll go back and look at Syracuse on defense. So this is another play. Like this is like the most obvious zone defense you're ever going to see. Like everyone all on the same line of scrimmage. They're all just going to back up, into their curl flat zone, middle zone, like 3 hook. And this wide receiver is just going to run a seam. Everyone who's ever played NCAA college football loves to run this, right? I think they're in cover 2 behind it. I could be wrong. I don't remember. Maybe I can get a peek at the corners. They actually look like they're in cover 3. And there's the hole in the zone. Nice clean pocket. No pressure at all. Easy throw and catch. Now, he did throw that a bit high, and a better defense that can break on the ball better probably lights this guy up here. But again, this is just Kyle McCord slicing up some zone. Other thing about Kyle McCord that I really appreciate, and look, I have a ton of respect for this team, and I have a ton of respect for their quarterback. I have a ton of respect for their offense, right? Is Kyle McCord seems to be a guy that doesn't really force the ball. Kyle McCord is a quarterback that when he's throwing the ball, he's going to take what the defense gives him. So they're in a 2nd and 4 here. He doesn't need to pick up a first down. Again, if they're just going to show me this 3 shell and everyone's going to backpedal 5 yards and give me a 15-yard cushion off the line of scrimmage, then I'll just dump it off somewhere and pick up nice yardage. So forget where this ball goes. It goes to the running back. So the running back's going to delay and then just go straight up the field on kind of like a little short curl. I mean, look at all this room. Look at all this room. This is why, like, I'm not taking due away from the guy. I want to see Kyle McCord again throwing against a defense that's not giving 10 yards of cushion to any single wide receiver. I don't think he's really pressured here either. Now, he does get the ball out pretty quick. But yeah, never pressured. Easy first down pickup. Now, here's a touchdown off of it. I think this looks like just a little fade to the sideline. And what this looks like to me is just, if you're looking at that side of the field, the corner has the flat, and then you have deep half for the safety. So there's this hole in between the corner and the safety that you kind of have to put it on a little bit of a line to fit it in between them to split those two guys. And this is more zone where he just carves it up. And I don't know what route's underneath here. I guess the tight end's coming up field, but this safety looks super lazy coming across the field on this thing. I mean, look at this. This guy scores on this play, right? I mean, this safety don't have a damn bit of interest in tackling that guy. Let's look at it again. Just, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and score because I don't want to get my jersey dirty. Pretty piss poor by Ohio there, especially that safety. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, both these guys are just running curls. Ton of open space over here. I mean, look at all of this cushion. There's not a single receiver with a defender within 10 yards of them. And I can't see what's going on everywhere, but it almost looks like this guy's got this area of the field. So like Syracuse has a 2-on-1 and just too easy. Like there's not a guy again within 10 yards. Here's one. This is the only sack of the game. He has 5 here across the middle, by the way, if he just leads them a little. Let's see what happens here. Looks like the nose just beats his guy. Yeah. So he takes a sack there, but he did have a guy open. And again, what defense are they playing, or what type? They're playing zone. They end up getting a sack there on it, though. Now here they're playing man. I'm just going to let this play out, and I want you to think back to the Florida State game and tell me if it looks familiar. Did that look familiar to anyone? Yep, that's the exact same thing that happened on 4th and 8. So this guy's just going to have a skinny little post. So they're in man. And if this guy gets beat inside, it's over. Why? Well, because he doesn't have any help here. He has no help. So if he gets beat inside, I mean, he has a little bit of help here because he has a safety behind him. I mean, again, look how far these safeties are, like 20 yards off the ball. I kind of don't really get this defensive play calling here or coaching strategy, but he gives him a little stutter step, looks like he's going to go outside, puts his foot in the ground, gets inside. And again, this is easy money. Easy money. This play is what makes me think of Georgia Tech's defense, because we have given this up before. And Georgia Tech likes to play a lot of man. Georgia Tech likes to be aggressive. So can Syracuse, can they beat man coverage against Georgia Tech's defense? That's probably another key for the game. Now, if you watch Rec break down plays for any length of time, I love a wheel route, a wheel concept. So what's going to happen here? Well, this outside receiver is going to run a post. Inside receiver is going to run a wheel. So it starts out looking like he's running a flat, and then he's going to turn it upfield right down the sideline. When you're in cover 2, if you have enough time, this should be a big play. Why? Because you have the wheel going up the sideline, and then you have the post going this way. So if they're in zone and they're in cover 2, then that safety with that deep half has to pick whether he's going to go with the wheel or he's going to go with the post. He ends up going with the post. Boom. So you can see here, he came inside for the post. He throws the wheel. Here's what I'll say here. This ends up working here, but you guys tell me what you think. With a defense that has a little bit better defensive backs that can break on this isn't a touchdown, this is an interception. This, to me, is a good play to illustrate why making the transition from quarterback at the college level to the pro level is so difficult. Why? Because throws at the college level can be touchdowns. Throws at that same throw at the pro level with pro defensive backs is a pick six. Again, I need to see him play a little bit better defensive backfield. Now, that's kind of the thing that makes you worry as a Tech fan. Let's look at what should make you feel good as a Tech fan. This is just going to be a straight quarterback draw. And Syracuse is not getting any push. I mean, what does this tackle do? He just lets the defensive end run himself out of the play. If you want to run all the way around here, like an idiot, we'll let you. And then the quarterback just goes right where he was. Missed tackle. First missed tackle. He whiffs so bad, he ends up tackling his own guy and getting lit up. And on a 2nd and 10 play, he ends up getting where'd he start? The 50? Gets to the 45, so he picks up 15 yards. And because of this whiff was so bad, he's basically not touched until he gets 15 yards downfield. This isn't a trash talk video at all, but as a Syracuse fan, that has to worry you with Haynes King, Jamal Haynes coming in. Haynes King might score on that play. Haynes King is a very athletic quarterback, and Georgia Tech loves to run read option, loves to run RPO. All right, let's look at play 3. Yeah, this is Syracuse in zone. So I think, he just kind of runs a little seam or maybe in. I don't know if he just let him in. They do get pressure here. Syracuse just brings more. They bring 5. They bring more than they have blockers. Quarterback makes a nice play, completion, big first down, moving them down the field. Now, here's what I can say about Haynes King, Georgia Tech's passing attack. They do like to get the ball out quick, and Haynes King is good at identifying a blitz and taking advantage of it. But that's going to be key. If I'm Syracuse's DC, I'm bringing a ton of pressure at Haynes King all day. If you're Syracuse, you want to force Georgia Tech to throw, and force Haynes King to hold the ball and not get it out quick. That's the victory for Syracuse. I think, no, this isn't the one. Syracuse sloppy tackling. Tell me this doesn't look like our defense last year. I'll just let it play at full speed. Right up the middle. 1 missed tackle, 2 missed tackles. If Syracuse has not improved in 1 week over this, I mean, look at the blocking. They're getting blown up at the line of scrimmage. This guy's here to make a tackle, and he even has a cowboy collar. He should be embarrassed on whiffing like that with a cowboy collar on. And what's this DB doing? Not wrapping up. I think he may be even trying to punch the ball out. If Syracuse does this against Jamal Haynes and Georgia Tech or Alexander or Anthony Carey, Georgia Tech will run for 350. And that's not exaggeration. They did it last year with essentially the same team. I called this third down fart. Let's see why. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because that guy just totally ate grass there. So this is a 3rd and 4. Let's see, they've got 6, basically 7, almost 7 in the box. Great pull block here off this right guard. Boom, great block there. And it's not exactly a reach, but this guy does a great job at keeping his guy out of the play. So boom, now we're 10 yards downfield. He's basically hadn't been touched. I mean, you just can't allow that to a group of 5 team at home on a 3rd down when they have the lead. I mean, I know it's the first quarter, but this has to worry you if you're Syracuse. All right. Now, I think Syracuse was starting to get frustrated at this point. It's a close ball game going into the 2-minute warning. And this is going to be just an off-tackle run, nice cut, missed tackle. I mean, I don't know what this is. He dives at his legs, but you got to wrap the guy up. So that's 2 missed tackles. Great downfield block. 3 missed tackles. And then he gets shoved well out of bounds for no reason. They end up you can see the ref reaching for his flag there. They get penalized for that. So then they're going to tack on another 15 yards there. You just can't do that. I mean, again, just absolutely piss poor tackling here. 1, 2, just 2 bad missed blocks or missed tackles. And then that guy said, let's make a bad situation worse and get a personal foul penalty on top of it. Another big run. This will be the last one we look at here. That looked like a little read option. It might not have been. Actually, that isn't a read option. I don't think. Well, it might be. But essentially another run up the gut, another run with I mean, he nearly scores on this play. Again, he's not touched until he's beyond 10 yards down the field. Makes me feel good as a Georgia Tech fan, especially knowing, well, it doesn't make me feel good that they have a player hurt. Let me be clear on that. But they have their best tackler out, their best linebacker out, maybe even the best player on their defense, and they're letting not Miami of Ohio, but Ohio do this to them. So if Georgia Tech's able to do that, and they should be able to, they're a great deal more talented than Ohio. Georgia Tech could roll in this game. Again, Brinke's a guy that's going to want to control the clock. If you let Georgia Tech do this to you, you might get the ball 3 times in the first half at most. And that's certainly keeping the ball out of Kyle McCord's hand is a absolute victory for Georgia Tech on every level. So that's kind of my breakdown. Again, I think I gave a final score prediction of 28-21 Georgia Tech. I stand by this. I do think Georgia Tech wins this game. After watching the last game, from whatever I can take from that, I'm not near as scared of Syracuse as I was, just looking at like the passing numbers of Kyle McCord. But let me know what you guys think. If you're a Georgia Tech fan, do you agree? If you're a Syracuse fan, do you think that's fair? Let me know in the comments. Talk to you guys later.